The United States government is going through a constitutional crisis and doesn't want you to hear about it. Watch to hear what they are hiding.
Recent days. But it begs the question, what is the definition of a constitutional crisis?
A constitutional crisis is when the United States Constitution, which is the framework for our government, it's a government of laws, not of men, as the framers said, when that Constitution is not being followed. And we are in one. It's not a budding one, it's not coming, we are in one. And we are in one for this very simple reason. The Constitution sets up three branches of government, and they're supposed to be equal. Sometimes we talk about Congress as being first among equals because it is the first section of the three that set out those three branches of government. And what the Constitution says is that, if you think about the Constitution, all it is a blueprint for how people have the right to have a say in their government, because that's why this country was so revolutionary, that it said that ordinary people got to choose their governments. They didn't have to live under kings. But how do you do that? So they created this framework, and what it says is the way people make laws is they elect representatives, and they elect representatives who meet in two chambers. They are the only lawmaking body in our government. Then, if they have passed a measure, it goes to the president, and the president can either sign it and make it a law or veto it and send it back to Congress for them to rewrite it or to ignore it, which they almost never did. So that's how we get laws in the United States of America. But what we have now, and what we had as soon as Donald Trump came into office, was his people unilaterally decided that they were not going to honor the laws that Congress passed. They were going to say, we're not going to fund these laws. We are now, even though they're all laws and a president signed them, are going to decide whether or not we're going to fund them. And that's A, unconstitutional, and B, was written by the Congress specifically as being against the law in 1974 after Richard Nixon tried to do it. So this is why you've seen all these courts saying you can't do this. This is blatantly unconstitutional. You cannot stop funding the National Institutes of Health. You cannot stop funding all these laws that passed Congress and that presidents signed. That is unconstitutional. This idea that the president can unilaterally decide to appoint people who say we're not going to honor certain laws destroys the very concept of the idea that Americans get to vote for people to make their own laws, and it turns Congress into what is essentially an advisory body that has no force, which is beyond even the ability to grapple with in our history, because it completely overturns the idea that we get to write our own laws.